All right, so I want to show you how to get set up on this next assignment. So this is going to be a little bit more complex than what we've done previously, because in order to really get a feel for how to build a P2P application, there's no real substitute for just working with one yourself. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So this application is kind of modeled off of something called GIMPS. So GIMPS is an acronym for the Great Internet Mersenne Prime Search. And it's actually one of the largest distributed applications in the world that uses volunteer computing, and it actually is responsible for discovering the largest prime number known to man. So that's what we're going to be emulating today using a kind of toy peer-to-peer application. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to this replit and you're going to hit the fork button. So what the fork button will do is it'll give you your own little version of the repository. And that's what I've done here. It takes a little bit of time for it to get set up. So I went ahead and skipped that, but you can see it sort of goes through this little boot script over here. And you can hit restart if you want to reinitialize it. But you want to go, oh, I was already there. You want to go to the README. There's a bunch of background there and a bunch of reading on how to get set up. But I just kind of want to show you a little bit of the workflow to give you a sense of how you're going to be working on this application. So you can see here, there's going to be a dashboard that I've got set up for you. And you want to open it in a new window so you can work with it a little bit easier. And this dashboard is going to show you all of the peers that are in your little peer-to-peer network, and it's going to show you their state and their logs, and you can copy the logs, so you can go inspect them somewhere else. You can put them to sleep, you can reset them to their initial state. But right now, the key thing you want to focus on is, okay, I've got ports 5001, 5002, 5003, 5004, and none of them have any peers. Okay, and so one of the very first things I'm going to be doing, they're all generating prime numbers, and they're trying to count up prime numbers with each other. But the problem is that none of them can talk to each other yet. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be wiring them up so that they're able to talk to each other, and I'm going to be defining the way in which they respond to messages. So going back to this code, all the code you're going to be writing is going to be in node.py. And I'm going to very quickly just run through making a quick change to this code so you can get a sense of how we're going to be doing our coding here today. So this is the main function I'm going to be using. And in this function, I'm not going to really run through what's going on here. There's a bunch of inputs. Obviously, you're going to need to read this code yourself to understand what's happening. But the very first problem is that the nodes aren't talking to each other. And specifically, they're not even listening to each other. So if a node receives a message from another node, it doesn't update the timestamp from which for that node from which it received a message. So it doesn't know that, hey, I shouldn't evict this guy from my cache of peers because I've actually just heard a message from him. And so the way that we do that, I've written a little helper method here called update last heard from. And so what I'll do is for every node, I will update last heard from whoever forwarded me the message. And so, sorry, I'm running this recording software, so it's making my computer very laggy. But just here, update last heard from, message forwarded, which is my peer. That's just their port number. And then once I've changed the code, I'm going to want to restart the application because the server needs to get reinitialized. So I'm going to hit the restart button. And what the restart button should do is it's going to kill all the processes, kill all the nodes, and it will restart the setup script. And so that will get my new code initialized and run. And so now going here, I can refresh this code. I can refresh this dashboard. And this goes to a public URL that's made available to me. And what I should see now is that, I'm sorry, I misspelled message forwarded instead of message forwarder. If I had been able to use the autocomplete, maybe I wouldn't have made that mistake. And so you can see here that if there's an error, the error gets populated into the special red area right here that just got cleaned up because the node was went back to sleep when I reinitialized it. And there we go. So we launched it back up again. And now I should see that the nodes stay connected, right? So now each of them is connected to a peer. So you can see they're kind of daisy chained together. So peer 1 is connected to peer 2 is connected to peer 3 and peer 1, peer 3 is connected to peer 2 and peer 4. So I still have more work to do to connect the whole system together. And they're still not communicating any other messages. They're not gossiping with each other. But that is going to be your assignment. So what you need to do is read through the walkthrough, read through the README, and that will explain all the steps you need to go through to get this peer-to-peer application wired up and working correctly. So once you've got that done, then you'll be done with this assignment and ready to move on to the next module.